All right, welcome everybody to the Service Hub, where we talk about your tips and tricks for your service business success. Today's episode is brought to you by Curry.io, and we have on the line with us Al. And Al, I actually don't, is it Levi? How do you spell it or say your last name?
It is Levi.
Okay.
Even though it's spelled Levi. But I've learned to answer to Levi, anything else like that. And by the way, I'm not related to the people in the jeans company. So I wouldn't be on this podcast.
You just wear the jeans.
I just wear the jeans. But no money is coming my way.
Oh, perfect. Well, that was a little free sponsor there for Levi today.
Happy to help him out.
Yeah, thanks, Levi, for covering our butts. So Al is amazing. He has a great history in the service business industry, as well as a bunch of others, but specifically worked with a family business for over 25 years in plumbing, heating, and cooling. He's since stepped away from that, and many of you may have ran into his book, the 7 Power Contractor. Al, after talking with him, he seems kind of like an all resource kind of oracle for a lot of amazing information about, from how to grow your business, growing your culture, things like that. And before we jumped on this call, we were talking a little bit about your story, Al, and as well as one of the subjects we want to go into. But we're excited to have you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I love to share. I know what it's like as a contractor to struggle. And I was actually more than a contractor. What I was sharing with Trevor is that my family were serial entrepreneurs, plumbing, heating, cooling. We go back to 1936. Started out of my grandfather's his gas station, and built the business from there. And so we struggled like everybody who struggled, and we found some ways to lessen that struggle. And when I went off to create my own business, by the way, I gave 3 years notice to my brothers and my dad that I was leaving. I'm sure you get that same amount of notice from your employees when they go, am I right?
Yeah, 3 years. That's amazing.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to leave my brothers high and dry. But what you needed to understand is that we were making a lot of money, but it was a very much what I refer to as a killing process. And unless we made some changes, my fear was being a rich, young, dead guy. And I was really not interested in that scenario. So I learned how to get control. And to my brothers and my dad credit, they allowed me to run with it as the youngest of the 3 brothers in the business. It's kind of surprising. But when I left, I was going to leave them in good shape. So for the last 17 years, I've traveled all over this beautiful country, helping contractors and webinars, seminars, my articles every month in plumbing mechanical and blogs and the video stuff that I do, and one-to-one. I've worked with some of the best contractors. Also, I've worked in Canada, so I'm there, and I've connected up with people in Australia. It's a wonderful world out there these days.
That's awesome. It's kind of like we've got the Yoda of the service industry, the expert.
I am not 250 years old, but okay, I'll take that.
I wasn't saying you're that old, Al.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
No, he can just pick up an HVAC van with his mind.
Yes. I know. I will. That's very funny because I work with some great other consultants, and one of my best friends, and we work together a lot, is Ellen Rohr, is well known in the industry, and she talks and works with some of my clients, and she finally, when they're protesting, she just says to them, "Put a bracelet on that says WWAD." And she goes, "What would Al do?" It's complimentary. It's not meant to be offensive to anybody, so don't take it that way. But ultimately, I've learned a lot because I've fallen in every hole that a contractor can fall in. And the only credit I will give myself is eventually I learned that you could easily fall back into the hole you just came out of if you're not careful. There are plenty of other holes out there awaiting you. So why spend time doing that? And that's what gets in our own way. So, I learned to take control of things because they were controlling me.
I love that. I think it's Trevor and I always talk about how grateful we are for this podcast because we get to spend 20, 30 minutes with people like you and learn from you. And I hope our audience feels the same way. I hope they feel like, holy crap, we get to sit here and listen to somebody like Al and learn from somebody who has made these mistakes and who's gone through this. And that's powerful. it's almost like somebody's taking a light and shining the pathway in a dark room for us to be able to kind of see where we need to go and what mistakes to avoid or what steps to take. And so we really appreciate you coming on the show today, and being able to share some of your information with us. And a quick question for you though, Al. I've got Trevor and I talk to a lot of service businesses, and we hear all the time from these people, yeah, I don't really want to grow my business. And do you hear that as well? And what do you say to somebody like that?
Well, not only do I hear it, but there was a time in my life I felt the same. Is that, are you kidding? What do you mean more business? I mean, should I not sleep? Is that what you're asking? Because when was I going to fit it in? And I already felt I didn't have a life. And so, yes, in the Yoda and age-wise, back in the days, my pager was going off. My two-way radio, they were calling for me. My cell phone that was the size of a bread box was ringing. And, it was like, I wasn't even sleeping, guys. When I was finally get home, whenever that was, what crazy hour it was, I was just waiting for the phone to ring. And we were not a small company. We were 70 people, 25 technicians. So I'm going to help those of you out there who are thinking, oh, there must be the magic number. If I only got to this size, it'll all work. And I'm here to tell you, no. That's not going to happen. It's just more gasoline to a fire. So the two types of companies that I've run into and I've worked with in the years to help them are either, good young people who have built their business because of their good name, their hard work, but they found out that there are no clones coming. And they are now at the position that there are no more hours in a day, days in a week, weeks in a month. This is all the time that they're given. And so they don't know how to break the ceiling, if you will, and grow. And then there's some other great companies that I've worked with who are monster-sized companies who are great, marketers and have expanded their business. And one of the clients that I worked with years ago, actually one of the first of these, the second type that I'm describing, he came to me after I came off the stage, and he goes, I got to have you come to work. And I said, well, describe your company. And it's a big size company. He's making good money. I said, well, why do you want me to help you? And he goes, I'm like a duck on a pond. I look smooth on the surface, but my feet are going crazy underneath. And that is what most of us are doing. So when you come to them, now the two of you have a box full of calls that you could put on their desk to help grow their business. And they do not see that as a gift. And that is because they have not learned how to run their business systematically. So for both of the type of businesses that I was describing, there are really good homes, and in some cases even great homes, built on bad foundations or no foundations. So my job has been to put a foundation under these companies so that the small one can go and grow, and that a big company can come under control before they add more gasoline to that fire. And so what am I speaking to? And the way that I usually describe it is these 7 powers. The 7 powers is what we apply to all the businesses that we belong to. We had a chain of liquor stores, we had ice cream shop, we had multi-state real estate, we had a radiant heat manufacturing company. So it wasn't just this business, because all businesses are more similar than they're not. And there are things that you need to do. So the 7 powers, if you think of it, this is what builds the foundation under your home. The ability to plan, operations manuals that are the policies and procedures in writing, staffing, which is the ability to provide the skills so that you don't have to hire people that are prima donnas. You are able to build young, willing people into the type of people you want out there. So staffing power is big. Sales is learning how to communicate that end up in quality sales. Sales coaching on that. Financial is running your business without financial blinders or looking through your rear view mirror to try and drive your financial car. So it's financials in real time, real world accounting. Marketing, which is the right amount of calls from the right customer at the right time. Those are the main 7. I hope I got them all. That really is what you need to build this great foundation under whatever company you have to go and be where you want it to be. And then growth is not this awful curse. This is a wonderful blessing, what you're offering.
I love that analogy, because it really goes back to what you said at first. It's no matter the size of company you're in, you need these 7 powers. You need a foundation, because as you grow, it doesn't get better. It just means you have more fires to put out or or a lot of people we talk to say, yeah, the more money I make just means the more responsibilities I have, and or just more problems I'm dealing with. And so I think having systems and processes, or these 7 powers put in place, is very foundational and can help you grow. And the question I asked was really, I think of the people that have said that to me, and I think about myself. It's like, I don't really want to grow anymore because I can't handle more.
Yes.
and
yes.
This is the solution to it. It's like, this is going to help you handle more. This is going to help you systematically be able to grow and have the dream that you've always wanted, which is to, whatever that dream was, as an entrepreneur, or what you had in mind when starting a business. Most people, like for me, it was, I want to be able to spend more time with my family. I want to grow a business that leaves an impact and helps me be able to be financially independent. And so a lot of people, I think, get to that point where they can't achieve that dream because they're just juggling so many things.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I relate to it. And I will share a quick story, is that my wife and I, there was no downtime. Even when we were on vacation, we could be on a beach and phone would be ringing and things of that nature. So there was no downtime, always interrupted. And finally, I just turned to my wife one day and I says, I know what I need to do now. We've got the operating manuals in place. I need to build a training center. I need to build the training curriculum, and I need to train people instead of trying to rewire these people who won't do work the way that we need to. I need to hire young people and train them the right way. And here's what I'm going to tell you. Now, I had 2 little girls at the time. I said, I'm going to be home less often, which you can imagine went over really, really well. But what I said to her is, I said, here's how I see it, though. In the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be able to go away because people will be able to function without us having to be involved every 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like it was, I don't know how it happened, but 2 years later, we came back from a vacation, my wife and I looked at her and I said, my phone didn't ring once while we were away.
Wow.
And and that was, so I think goals and desires and the things that you're talking about are super important, but I think they're really BS unless you're willing to write them down and look at them at least once a week and be acting on them at least once a week. Wow. And for me, when I went off to do this second business, now be aware I came into a business, so I was kind of, you're thrown into the fire or the deep end of the pool and you're learning to swim. But the reality is I had time to think about where I was going for my new business and this one. And what I did was I created the 10 golden rules for my life and my 10 golden rules for my business. And I spent time in a dual screen looking at both of them until I could get them in sync. Because, I used to do a free 30-minute, and I still do occasionally, is people will call me up and, they'll tell me I'm $1 million in sales. And I say, well, where would you like to be if we work together in the next 3 years? And the guy will say 25 million. And now I want to tell you, I love big goals, but I want to hear what you're going to do about it. And then he proceeds to tell me that, well, I don't want it to interfere with my surfing lessons. And, it goes on to all the other things that he doesn't want to have. And I, do the hard work, and then you're willing to go surf, do what you want to do. I hear you, but it's going to be hard to marry those two. So 10 golden rules for your life and 10 golden rules for your business, and they have to be in sync or you will always be in conflict.
Al, give us if you're comfortable with this, give us kind of a peek into maybe a couple of those rules you have, just to give us an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah. So when I said I was going to, once I knew I was leaving the business, I no longer had to be, where I was, because I was going to be flying to customers. So one of the things, the golden rules, was to be able to be in Phoenix. At that time was 8 months a year, and then 4 months a year back in New York to escape the heat and live by the ocean. So that was one of my goals. And on the business side, I had to create a business that goes wherever I go. So everything back then, even 17 years ago, had to be online. My marketing people were in Pennsylvania. My writer was in Denver. I was able to do all of these things. My bookkeeper was in Missouri. It was a portable business. And when I came, I had real products to be able to sell as a good thing. In my personal life, I wrote down that I will be exercising 3 times a week. And I'm pleased to say that I actually go to the gym about 7 times a week these days. And I mix in some kind of different stuff, that I'll play golf. And that I then built it back into my business life thing as to what it is that I would do to be able to make those things happen. And that was about having systems and structures being set up at my calendar so that these days were built into my calendar. This is a mistake that all busy people can make, a big mistake, is that they don't use the power of their calendar. One of my courses is online, Get Your Life Back, is it's a $197 course. It's really not a lot of money, but it's really, I share techniques or how to get your life back. And some of this is really shared there about how to master to handle your calendar. And that's what I say. If it's not built into your calendar, it's not going to happen. So those are just some of the quick business goals that I wanted. I have more, but that give you a pretty good taste.
Yeah, no, that's super powerful. I like that.
Yeah. And it makes me think about, I don't know who originally coined the phrase. One of our shared mentors, Parker, and I would always say, proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance, or something to that effect.
Oh yeah.
And we've heard it so many times, but it's true.
I absolutely agree. You could, if you don't have a plan, then everybody's planning for you. And Ellen always says, Ellen Rohr says, plan or be planned for, which is a really good thing. People are going to come up to you and have a plan for you if you don't have a plan for yourself. I think also too is, for me, the calendar in my case is proactive. And so I do use recurring events. I use a lot of different things to drive me. I also work on top 5. So planning power is really about working on the right thing at the right time in the right way. The 3 rights of planning power. And what it starts with, imagine like a big funnel. The top of the funnel are all the things that are stuck in your head. All these great ideas. The last time you went to the web, the last time you spoke to a friend in business, the last time you read a book, and you have all these powerful ideas. So here's my question. Do you need more ideas or do you need more stuff done? Because I'm betting it's the second one. You need to get more stuff done. So the idea is to create this top of the funnel, to park all of these projects, habits, good ideas that you have. And they sit at the top of the funnel and they work their way down in only this way. So imagine you have 2 giant strainers. In one strainer, your left hand is what of these projects, ideas, habits that you put on the top of the list will either fix the biggest problem or challenge at your company. And in the other hand is one that is a filter or strainer that says what will give you the greatest chance to grow and be profitable. And when you use those 2 strainers, you filter that big list down to your top 30. And on your top 30, it is, if you and I were working together next year at this time, how many of those 30 things did we get done? Because you said that would fix your biggest problem or challenge, or give you the greatest chance to grow and be profitable. So what else are you doing all week long that's more important than that? And the answer is nothing. And so you have to spend some time, and that goes to Michael Gerber's great book. If you're always working in the business and never on it, nothing's going to change. And that was a profound thing that I did take away from that many, many years ago. It's still a good read. And so I think that's really important. So here's the thing is, I don't care how much money you have, you're not going to be able to work on 30 things effectively at one time. So you take out the same strainers one more time and boil that list down to your top 5. When you arrive at your top 5, every week at the very least, I have what we call a meeting with me. So every Sunday, I have to confront and take my medicine every week. I look at it to see what I have or have not done to move the ball down the road on those 5 things that I said would fix my biggest problem or challenge, or my greatest chance to grow and be profitable. And that is what I work on.
Wow. Sounds, dang, I need to start doing that.
I know.
Yes. Well, this is spelled out in the book. And by the way, I don't turn this into a sales thing here. But yeah, there's the 7 Power Contractor book was written to be a 2 to 4 hour reader. I don't expect you to spend more time than that. And I realized people were busy. So then I also put it in an ebook. And finally, contractors told me, hey, we don't even have time to read. We're in our trucks. So it's even available in Audible. And it's all, in my opinion, dirt cheap. And so, yeah, that gets you on your path to getting a better foundation for any business.
That's awesome. I that's really powerful. One of my mentors also kind of talks about that too. He always says, you need to ask yourself every single day when you look at your to-do list, what things are going to move the needle forward?
Yep.
Like, it's really simple. Like, what if you look at that list and and checking Facebook and looking at notifications and or, if it's not on there, like, you shouldn't do it. If that checklist doesn't go through that filter, like,
technical distraction has just, gone up the charts, and it's going to keep on going. So the genie's not going back in the bottle. So in the Get Your Life Back program, I talk about that because I work with guys, 40 and under, and they're highly distracted, reasonably so, by everything that they're, what we think is a great thing is because we're now more available is also a double-edged sword, curse in the other way. Yeah. And so when you look if you turn your phone upside down and you don't look at it, but it lights up, for the next 20 minutes, your attention's gone. That is already a proven thing.
Yep.
So the point of it is you have to build allocated time into your calendar. Again, the calendar driving this as to when you will check the texts and the emails and the Facebook and the things that you need to do to stay in the loop. But you can't be doing it all day long in a free conscious stream, or you will not be working on things that you have to be doing the way you need to be doing it.
That's very interesting. Yeah, it becomes an interrupter of thought and process. I did have a question. So with those who seem to be a little bit more successful with their routine, a little bit more successful with their planning, are there certain patterns of behavior that you see in those contractors that are more successful than others that say, hey, we do this in the morning, or we do this in the afternoon, or this is kind of a secret little nugget that we throw into our day? Is there any rhyme or reason, or do you just build it based on your own business and your own life?
I think, what contractors, including my dad, most of us are so busy. So we say, here's your stuff, go. And we just run. So it's the equivalent of, I come across the two of you in a forest and you're sweating profusely chopping down trees. And I say to you two, I say, if you come with me, we can sharpen up the axe and we could be chopping down the trees more efficiently and quicker. And the both of you look at me and go, I would, except I'm busy chopping down the tree. And so that's the problem. You have to come off. And so meetings, again, another thing I talk about in the program, the Get Your Life Back program, is meetings are not an interruption of your day. It's a way to maximize your day. Now, it depends if you have staff or don't have staff, but at the very least, you're going to meet with yourself. And so these meetings need to be structured. And so that, people hate meetings, I feel, is because if you've ever belonged to your house of worship or your town, what kind of meetings do you go to? I call them donut meetings. Yeah. Go and have a donut, drink some coffee, somebody goes on about something, nothing ever gets decided. The next time we go to this meeting, we're going to be talking about the same crap again. And that is not what I'm talking about. This is a set up agenda, short, frequent meetings that are on topic. And those meetings don't get hijacked. So there are 10 meeting guidelines that I always advocate with my clients about how to run quality meetings, because that's really important to get on the same page. It's one of these hard things about spend a little time on the front, instead of the end. So kind of in line with the story that you were sharing is I had a really, one of the companies we acquired, he was a good friend, important person to our thing, but he was, I would ask him to ride along with the techs to improve their skills. And he always told me, I don't have time for that. And I said to him, well, how do you find the time to fix all their mistakes? And so he was busted. You follow what I'm saying? It's just like, I get it, but you have to work against that counterintuitive thing. So for what you were saying about successful contractors is getting more comfortable with a portion of your day needs to be spent on it. I would say the ones that really get hold with the work that we do is I always share with them, you have to be prepared to lose a battle to win the war. So, I had to learn this years ago is I was a really good tech at one point working at my company. It was only one of the 1,000 jobs I had. And I could pick up my toolbox and go knock out some calls on a crazy busy day. Part of the thing I had to learn is that I have to stay in the office, work with the dispatchers to maximize everybody else, the other 25 techs out there, and learn how to leverage my skills. So that was losing a battle to win the war.
Right. And you look like, you're using a little bit of control because that if you're really good at technical work, being on site, you're going to get it done in the quote unquote, like right way, the way you want to do it. However, winning that war, I think looks like gaining back not just that day, but maybe that month or that year, which is what we kind of originally started talking about, is how to get in a position where you gain more power back in your business so that you can then grow. Because everybody says, I don't want to grow. I got 2 trucks and I'm too busy.
Yeah. They have 2 trucks until one guy gets hurt, sick, quit. And now 50% of their sales walked out the door. So I'm here to tell all of you that are listening, be aware you're really fragile. And so it seems like it's easier to be small, but it's not true. And the cost of doing business, you can get away with working out of your house and, enslaving your wife to do your books and things of that nature. All of these bad habits that have gone on forever and ever. And you can, borrow all the money out of your savings account to the day you can't work anymore. And unfortunately, that's the misery of contracting for too many. The idea is you need to get to a certain size heft that makes sense. And you can't do that without systems. So the systems, in our case, we have operating manuals for everyone that's on the org chart. So the organizational chart, which is not a chart to feed your ego. So there's no CIO, CFO, CTO, or any of the other things, or vice president. I really don't care. It's the boxes it takes to run the company. And that org chart is where every company, small, large, whatever, that I've worked with, that is what we work with. And then the question is, whose name is in each of those boxes? And the answer is probably yours. Nobody, how big it is, no one has just one person for each box. Yeah. There is names in multiple boxes. Here's the thing, though. You are never going to get rid of that box until, first of all, there's a box on the org chart. And second of all, you have an operating manual that covers what goes on 80% of the time. And that is the secret of how I was able to get out and leverage my business, how I was able to teach all these other people through the years to do the same thing. And those manuals for the first time are now available as an online program. Because, like Yoda, I've aged and I can't go everywhere. And so, but, and this is also, let's face it, online technology has gotten so much better that, in many ways, it was very funny stories. I first did a workshop when I stopped doing it as much one-to-one. And so I brought the guys together, and one of the guys in the workshop, most of them did really well, but one was struggling. So I said, you know what, just take the online program at no cost. So he calls me back up and he goes, I'm going to tell you something, but I don't want you to be upset. I said, well, first of all, I'm from New York, so you're going to have to work really hard to upset me. Second of all, just let me hear it. So he goes, I actually like the online program more than the workshop. So I said, why? He goes, Al, because when you talk, it's like I asked for a glass of water and you opened up a fire hose on me. I can watch this video over and over and over until I really understand the concept that you're sharing, because he understood, because I've been talking about, it's not just words on a page or a digital device. There's a lot more behind the scenes to operating manuals, standard operating procedures, which was an expensive enterprise, but it's the best work you can do. And I don't care what business that you're in, by the way. I worked with a photography company, and I also helped an SEO company. So I think I can help a plumbing, heating, cooling, electrical, kitchen cabinetry company, and I've proved that pretty much so. But this isn't about me. This is about you. That until you document, how you do your work, there's always going to be this problem. And I ran into the same problem, by the way. I don't know. I want to be careful about the time, but do I have a quick second to share a story about how they're sabotaged, even small?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I had trained this one young fellow, Bobby. He was flipping pizzas, and I took him in, and he was a young apprentice, and he had risen to be our best installer out of the 5 install crews we ran a day. And so the morning came, I handed him a sheet of a job I had sold. And I said, Bobby, I can't get there at 10 o'clock. I'll probably be there around 2. Look it over. Let me know if you have any questions. He goes, oh, no, I got it. I said, oh, great. I show up at 2 o'clock. I go down in the basement. I look at the heating job and the thing they did, and I'm walking around, muttering under my breath. And I tell Bobby, come outside. And I pull him out to the truck, and I go, what the F is this? Nothing like what we talked about. He looks at me and he goes, well, your brother Richie showed up and said, do it this way. and what I realized in that most painful of moments is we didn't have a company way of doing anything. So here's what happened is Bobby woke up thinking he was going to have a good day, and now Al has ruined it. Al thought he was going to have a good day, and Bobby ruined it. And we both learned that we can ruin each other's day if we don't learn how to play by the same set of rules. Plus, the customer wasn't served right.
Yeah.
So if you are the only guy who can do the work, whatever that work is, you owner, contractor, then it's really a hobby. Because what happens if you get sick, die, quit, whatever it is, get hit by a bus? That's not a thing. So until you create systems that are repeatable, then you're always going to be trapped in this box. And that goes to the big companies too. How do you send 25 plumbers to 25 different directions and have them do a toilet reset the same way if you've never defined it? What are the chances of that? I will help you out. 0 to none.
Yeah, I love that story. It reminds me of the book, if those haven't read it, it's called The E-Myth. And basically it kind of talks about exactly what you just shared. Being able to take somebody, entry-level person, be able to put them into a process or a system or a training system that teaches them how to get the same end result every single time. And if we don't have those systems or training manuals or documented processes in place, we're gonna get skewed end results, and the customer is going to get a different experience every single time. And that's not what we want to try and do as entrepreneurs and business owners and even owner operators, right? That's what's
absolutely.
That's what's crazy is a lot of this, like, I feel like majority of our listeners are going to be owner operators. And for those that are owner operator, like, it's okay if you're owner operator, you still should be putting together a documented system of how to, install a new system or how to do a checkup. Like, every single little thing should be documented.
Yep. It's really ensuring your future. Otherwise, you're going to be working, till the day they drag you out feet first. Yeah. It's a problem. You can't sell, that is the issue to this thing. But as far as the size of the company is, preferably because it's a 24/7, 365 business, pretty much all services business these days, thanks to our friends at FedEx and everything else, that we can wake up anytime we feel like it and get immediate service, right?
Yeah.
Go online. It's the same kind of thing for all businesses these days. You have to get to enough heft that you can be able to serve it, but you got to be able to replicate it. And that starts from the most important concept in the Build Your Operating program, starts with the 3 key manuals that have the biggest effect on all contracting companies, which is customer service rep and how they do their job. And then they hand the baton off to the dispatcher. Even if it's them, when they hang up the phone, they transform into a dispatcher, which is a different mindset, how they maximize the day, how they get all the information out to the tech who runs the call, and then how the tech gets back all the information to the dispatcher. And it's what I call the triangle of communication. And from a 1 truck outfit to a 200 truck outfit, that is the most impactful. Now, there are more manuals and there's more help, but nothing is more important than understanding how the interconnection of those 3 work, because it either makes your company or breaks your company.
The trifecta manual. Seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah, the problem is people go, well, I may have these manuals, and because so much stuff is available, but if they're not integrated or they weren't written together, they don't build on each other the way they have to. And so the CSR, dispatcher, and tech need to be integrated like the way that I'm talking about.
Man, Al, this has been a blast for sure. And I definitely want to have you back, and maybe we could dive deeper into what kind of goes into constructing those manuals. But I think, in closing, I want to just highlight the question that we had originally. How do we sit from a place of, man, it would be cool to grow, but I don't want to grow. I'm too busy. And I think some of the highlights that I got out of this today was, prioritizing your schedule, your goals, and relating that back to everything you do within your calendar, and then building really tight processes, procedures, and manuals documenting the things that you do so that you are not the only tool in the shed. Like you give away some of the control to regain control of your personal life and of your time. And I've just been totally blown away by all that you've shared today. And Al, if our audience wants to find out more about some of these topics, because I know that you have some videos and other things like that, where can they go to find you online so they can review some of these things we've talked about further?
Yeah, the two best ways is to my website, because there's blogs on a lot of different topics that we were going through, and a few hundred other ones are there. And also the programs that I was talking about, whether they're interested in the book or the Get Your Life Back program, or actually the operating manuals. So it's the number 7 powercontractor.com.
Perfect.
7powercontractor.com. And if you got a question or concern, there's contact. You can just go in there and drop me an email, and we'll take it from there. But there's just a ton of information that I put in there, and some good stuff, loads of good information.
Yeah, I've been checking it out. It's awesome. Sweet, Al. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's a wrap for the show today. Thanks for joining us. If you've been enjoying the show as much as Trevor and I have, go to iTunes, give us a rating and a review. Tell us what you think about our show and how we can improve, or thoughts or questions or more topics that you want to hear about. And also, if you know of anybody that you feel like would be a great interviewee or somebody we could chat with on the show, please email me or Trevor. It's going to be parker@curry.io or trevor@curry.io, and that's KURRY.io. Again, thank you for joining us today, and have a great week.